it's Jesse Homestead. How the heck are you today? Okay, this one's got to do with the NRSC, or yeah, never mind. Those guys, the Conservation District, and Southern SARE. They had gotten some problems, some complaints. Now, keep in mind, this is off of larger farms, okay, about the black polypropylene ground cover. But everybody's probably wanting to use this year, including me. Okay, that's what I was going to use. I had ran into it where they had a grant come up, and it was for utilizing about a half acre of somebody's land for this research, because the research on this stuff has never been done, not by the manufacturers, not by anybody. So they started getting some complaints back, decided, well, you know what, we better check this out. So they got some grant money put together for it, set it up. I had called an old friend of mine who he grew watermelon for years using the polypropylene and irrigation to fertilize and to irrigate his watermelons. The guy had some of the best, sweetest tasting watermelon I had anywhere. Great. Old Gary Lee did a heck of a job with them. So when I heard about the grant a couple of months back, I'd called him about it and said, hey, you might want to get into this. I said, you can have yourself a nice house code on about a half an acre that the government's willing to pay for. And he kind of said, I quit using this stuff. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, about 2 years ago. He said, I was having to pump more fertilizer into that ground than I was pumping water. He said it was nuts. He said, I finally tore it out and went back to standard planting. And, and he was sold on it. So that's where the complaints going into the conservation department triggered this. Let's take a look at this. So basically they're going to be researching the black woven polypropylene ground cover. The reason, here again, complaints that they're having some problems growing under this stuff. Now, whether it's extended, not extended, that's what they're saying. Nobody's looked at it to say you weren't using it right or whatever. Nobody knows, including the manufacturers. They don't know. Okay, the testing hasn't never been done. No, never. This is the first time for this, and they're doing it here in Tennessee. So it ought to get concerned, because basically what the NRCS has come up with is their concerns are under that stuff you have a lack of soil aeration. They're worried about in the south, and this is primarily the reason the Southern SARE is doing this, is that with the high temperatures we have in the summer, what's going on under that ground? Is that affecting the microbiology of the soil? No testing's ever been done. And so they're wanting to go in and see what's up with that. And what they're saying is negative effects with microbiology would transfer into exact complaints they're getting. Lower yields. The crops seem to be more susceptible to pests, especially rootworm, the little root munching nematoids down there. Pathogens begin to move in, different things like that. So they're going, how do we fix this? Okay, so what they're doing is they're taking and they're putting in 75 test beds, 50 foot by 30 foot long, or by 30 inches wide, doing them in 3 columns, and they're going to have a 5 foot walkway in between each of the beds. That's the way they're going to lay them out. 2 of the beds, they're going to cover them with 4 inches of wood chips, cover over the polypropylene with 4 inches of wood chips. That one I don't know about. I mean, you throw wood out here on the ground in the south, you got termites or fire ants, one or the other. So I don't know how that's going to work, but that's what they're doing. They're going to take a couple of the beds and cover them up with 4 inches of wood chips. Okay. The other ones are just leaving the polypropylene down, and they're going to see what comes of it. This is kind of funny. They got a lot of this stuff given to them for running this test. new rolls of polypropylene and the drip tape and all that stuff. The farmer next door to the guy that is doing the test had been running this stuff in his fields and took it out for the same reasons that they're doing this research. Low yields requiring a massive amount of fertilizer, yada, yada, yada. So, and I guess the USDA and them are just going, we don't know. Nobody's tested it. They went back to the manufacturers. Manufacturers hadn't tested. Nobody knows what it's doing to the microbial life in your soil. This fall, they'll know. Okay? Because they're going to go out there and they're going to do microbial tests on the soil before they start it. And then they're going to come back, and they're also checking for earthworms, see if there's any earthworms in the soil, so forth. Take down the numbers, cover them, do your thing. They're planting assorted crops, some cabbages, some squash, some pumpkins, watermelons, a little of everything are getting planted in these. So lucky dude, whoever got that thing going. Oh, and that was something else they were finding. They, in the ones that they could test the plants that had been using it for a while, they weren't taking up nutrition values out of the soil. Things were like very low in nutritional value, which set warning signs off to these guys saying, that sounds like microbial problems. And it does. Okay. So that's what they're checking for. By next fall, probably early winter, they should have the test results back in. Yeah. Who's to say, man? So, like myself, I've decided I'm going to put off the polypropylene till next year. What's one more year of digging in the dirt, right? Throw down some leaf mulch and call it a done deal. Because if that is killing the microbial life in there, it takes longer to build that microbial life than it does to, go another year without having to weed. Okay. But yeah, I was shocked to hear that nobody knew. Nobody has tested this. Nobody has seen what's been going on. And even, like I said, the USDA didn't catch on to it till they had a bunch of farmers here in the South going, something ain't right about this. And trust me, Gary Lee, if he was still doing halfway decent with his watermelons, he'd still be using it. Okay, because that was a lot of cut down work for him. He bragged on that stuff, and he had great watermelon. But the fact of the matter is, his production dropped off, his yields weren't as great, and he was just pumping all kinds of fertilizer into the ground to try to get it straightened out. So if you haven't made the investment in it yet for this year, you might want to kick that can down the road one more year. It's up to you, depending on how much. It's hard to say, folks. And that's what everybody's saying. Nobody knows. That's why we're doing this. We need to find out if it is. The answer may be no, it's fine. Look for something else. Maybe the wrong fertilizers, whatever. Once they complete the test, they're going to go back and they're going to do the same thing again. They're going to check for the microbial life in the soil and see if there's still worms there. At least the same as the old count. They're not worried about it improving. They're just wanting to see if the high heat on that polypropylene is, because at 100, it doesn't take long to get your soil temperatures up to 130 degrees. At that time, your good biology starts dropping out. Okay? And you don't need that. So, got the heads up. Anyway, if you put it down and you find out later you shouldn't be using this stuff, and at least you can come back and go, darn. And I'm sure the manufacturers may come up with a way to, if that is the fact of going, okay, what do we got to do? Put a shade cover over? What do we got to do with this? Like I said, nobody knows. Oh, we sound like Monsanto now, aren't we? We don't know. Just go with it. You don't have to pull weeds. Anyway, so I ain't going to keep you long on this one. That's what's going on right now. The The trials are starting this spring. They're putting the beds in now. By next fall they'll know, and be able to give you a straight up answer whether or not that's good, bad, or ugly. Okay, so we'll see. And as soon as I get that report comes in, I'll let you know. And hopefully there's nothing to it. To be honest with you, if you already bought the stuff, you got it laying there, I'd probably use it. All kidding aside. And then if you find out it was bad, then throw some compost down. Take stuff up, throw some compost down, and rebuild the microbial life back in the soil a little bit and get back to gardening next year. I don't know. Your call. Or leave it set in the shed. You can always use it next year. Anyway, thought you might want to know. Heading into garden season, this is kind of some timely information, really. Instead of going out and investing a whole bunch of money into something that might not be good for your garden. Just saying. All right, this is what Tennessee Homestead. Love you guys and appreciate you. Hope you're having a good week and going to have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.